You descend into the ancient winding streets of Ukaizo. Battered by storms for thousands of years, the ruins bear the marks of their role as the lone witnesses of the god's great secret at the center of the city. The houses and boulevards are pierced by great spears of luminous Audra. There are no ashen bodies, no birds, no sign or sound of any life. But with every step, the rhythmic pounding in the distance draws nearer. Soon, you can feel the vibration traveling up your spine. As you approach the center of the city, the weathered architecture gives way to more luminous Audra, piercing the ruins, eventually overtaking them entirely. Cresting the top of a fallen tower, you finally get a clear view of Eothas. He stands, legs astride, next to a great stone monument ringed with 11 cavernous alcoves. All but 3 hold a gargantuan skeleton, bones scrubbed clean by the city's storms. An immense Anguithan machine floats above the monument, suspended by invisible energy emanating from a well of light beneath it. Great brass rings spin around a core of metal and Audra at the machine's center. Periodically, Eothas' massive arms swing back. The movement alone is enough to draw great gusts of wind toward him. When they come down on the machine, the impacts are accompanied by eruptions of electricity, fire, and smoke. The hundreds of luminous Audra pillars across Ukaizo sympathetically dim in a rippling wave that spreads out from the machine. The only safe route to the god is a steep ascent along a monstrous pillar of luminous Audra. Intertwined with fragments of Ukaizo's ruins that it has carried through the centuries, the pillar bends in a long arc, towering above the machine. The pillar levels out near Eothas' head, a silent observer to the destruction of the machine it has grown beside over thousands of years. You weave your way along a treacherous rain-slicked path up the pillar's skyward side. As you arrive at the top, you catch Eothas' attention. Fist pulled back, he pauses to observe you. With the same gentleness he showed at Ashen Maw, he lowers his arm and turns toward you.
Strange to see Ukaizo in this way. It may be hard to picture, but this city was once full of life. The Huana, yes, but also kith from many other cultures. Great hanging trees shadowed these boulevards. Gardens sprawled across the open rooftops. Each spring, a festival procession would wind its way from the hillside into this valley. The celebrants would pass through a steep walk among the stalls of foreign merchants, flowers falling upon them from all sides. All people of all nations, together in a celebration of new life. Such was the power and beauty of lost Ukaizo.
If we don't fix this mess you're about to cause, the whole world is gonna look this bad. I mean, it's a mighty heavy load you're putting on our shoulders. I just hope we can carry it.
As long as there are people like you in this world, Eder, I truly do. This power has always been in the grasp of mortals. Now you will finally be aware of it. Now you will be able to decide what to do with it.
Gone, please, I'm begging you. What do I do following this? How am I to best serve those still living, to improve our future chances of survival?
The Deadfire and the Eastern Reach are full of animancers, women and men with brilliant minds who can solve this great problem. They will also need people with brilliant souls, like you, Xoti. People who can tend to the spiritual needs of the world in a time of fear and desperation. Remember, the flame you bear is not only light, but warmth. Provide comfort to all who need it.
What right do you have to do this? Destroy the wheel and leave us with nothing? Without even knowing what will come next?
Aloth, we are all, gods and mortals, responsible for our own actions. But inaction carries its own moral responsibility. It is a burden I have carried for far too long. One must always do as their conscience dictates, even if that means abdicating a position of power. But what of you, Watcher? Why have you followed me? Have you come to bear witness to the breaking of the wheel? And you believe I should give my strength to one of them? I am certain Boudica has convinced you of this course. Why do you believe I should give this power, which we have used so irresponsibly for so long, to any of them? It is true. We created ourselves as equals, even if Boudica did create a story about her past to elevate her own glory. You have convinced me, Watcher. The gods do need a strong leader. I will ensure they have one after I am gone. I must attend to my final work now. I cannot delay any longer. You have carried a heavy burden across the Deadfire, Watcher. Before I go, I would rid you of it. You are free now, as free as any of us can be. Many will come to you for help in the years ahead. Animancers, priests, even the gods themselves. I have great hope for you, but always remember that your future is for you to decide. Use your freedom well.
Eothas squares himself to the machine. As you move to a safe distance, he draws his fist back and resumes his assault. The blows rain down with increased fervor, but the machine perseveres in spite of his efforts. Spreading his arms wide, Eothas draws power from the luminous Audra clustered around the valley. The energy courses through his body, limbs overflowing with intense light and waves of heat. He returns to his task, each strike bringing with it the sound of cracking stone and twisting metal, the flickering of luminous Audra across Ukaizo. As the ancient machine finally begins to succumb to his strength, so too does Eothas' body, built to withstand the passage of thousands of years. The great Audra statue has finally been pushed beyond its limits. Cracks appear along the hands, then race up the arms. Eothas does not slow his assault, but continues unabated. Its brass rings twisted. The machine spins erratically but withstands the relentless barrage. Eothas stands astride it and pummels the base of the machine. Soul energy begins to flare out from the machine's heart, warping the air with the intense heat. Eothas drives his right fist into the machine's center, the core of metal and Audra. The god lets out a deafening shout, something between a cry of anguish and a roar of exultation. You see Eothas' arm shatter upward from his hand through his elbow. A flash of light and heat bursts from the core, accompanied by a cacophony of destruction. The moment passes. As Eothas' shout echoes throughout the valley, your eyes begin to recover. The god's work is accomplished. The great machine of Ukaizo has been destroyed. The wheel has been unmade. As Eothas' voice fades, the enormity of what you've accomplished sinks in. You have confronted a god. You have rediscovered the ancient city where the wheel was forged, and you have seen the wheel shattered. What comes next is uncertain, but already the legend spreads of the Watcher who survived Andra's mortar and stood toe-to-toe with Eothas. Eothas channels his essence into Bereth, empowering the god of doors, cycles, and life and death beyond all other gods. Bereth vows to maintain peace and order in the here and the beyond, while Kith labor toward a solution. The other gods, for the time being, submit. Under Bereth's guidance, the world becomes a more predictable, stable place. Seasons fall into a disturbingly regular rhythm, and wars, famines, and natural disasters dwindle. But so too do surges of prosperity and innovation. Great minds around the world work methodically toward salvation, both unhindered and uninspired by changes, upheavals, and the unexpected. In reaching Ukaizo and facing Eothas, you have accomplished the impossible, and you have done it without the assistance of the great powers of Deadfire. Your feats capture the awe and imagination of a world that needs heroes more than ever. Some say your intervention prevented Eothas from a far worse act of destruction. Many believe you will be the salvation of Eora. With each day, your legend grows, as does the chaos in Deadfire. Ukaizo remains unclaimed, and the Efekia Channel becomes the site of a near-constant battle as the Huana and the Rauataians vie for control of the unprotected island. The Rauataians rely on their cannons, and the Huana call forth massive waves and beasts of the deep to sink their foes. And while they chip away at one another, the Valians and the Principi pursue their own ends with increasing abandon. Emboldened by their rivals' distraction, the Valian Trading Company seizes territory and mines luminous Audra at a startling pace. Huana villages are left at the mercy of unscrupulous speculators, and resource-rich islands are swarmed and stripped. To support their operations, the Valian Trading Company begins shipping ever greater quantities of supplies and luminous Audra to and from the archipelago. This attracts the attention of the Principi, who target these ships with increasing aggression. The promise of fat prizes draws even more pirates to their ranks. The Rauataians, as well as the Huana, are too busy to stop them. Despite other tensions across the archipelago, Port Maje remains a model of peaceful, productive cooperation between the Huana and the Valian Trading Company. Though they do not always agree, Governor Clario and Storm Speaker Ikawa work together for the mutual benefit of their people. As the balance of power changes in Deadfire, so too does Neketaka transform. With the major powers at one another's throats, Neketaka becomes a maelstrom of chaos. Spies and smugglers follow the flow of refugees into the city, where violence is commonplace. Ukaizo remains the coveted prize, and Neketaka fades into an afterthought. Largely forgotten amidst more prominent concerns, the Gullet continues to be a miserable place, especially for those Raparu who flee to Neketaka seeking a haven amidst the turmoil. For them, the Grand City is a promise cruelly broken. The Watershapers Guild is allowed to remain in Neketaka. Its members continue their arcane art and dream of finding the ancient secrets of their practice. Your brief encounter with Lyftarn proves deeply influential for the children of the Dawnstars. He comes to recognize his nightmares and the scene at Hisongo as Eothas' final warning to his people. Unite in strength and faith, or perish forever. As word of Eothas' deeds at Ukaizo spreads, his fellow Dawnstars take this message to heart. As Eothas pours his essence into Bereth, so too do the children of the Dawnstars pour their faith into the god of doors and cycles, life and death. Some pray for guidance and order. Others take it upon themselves to enforce it. They sharpen their scythes and sickles to defend the peace they have been granted. They failed Eothas before. They will not fail Bereth now. To the misfortune of many, a group of slavers remains entrenched on Crookspur. While they profit off the misery of Kith, no one is able to stop them. Ships continue to disappear at the southeastern fringe of the archipelago, and stories circulate of a colony of vampires and gulls preying on their crews. Though your adventures alter the destiny of Eora and the balance of power in Deadfire, they also leave a lasting mark on those who travel at your side. Your companions find themselves changed, in ways both big and small. Eder takes his leave from the Defiant at the first port you reach. He does not share his intentions, but you later learn he has secured passage back to the Deerwood. There, he brings a message to the Eothasian faithful, telling them that Eothas has returned, and that their faith in their god has not been misplaced. Xoti is not a priestess who understands the meaning of subtlety. As such, she makes her girlish crush on Eder painfully obvious from the moment she first sets eyes on the strapping fighter. Early in your travels, Eder appears discomforted by her persistent flirting. He often grimaces when she sidles up to him, and he takes endless pains to keep their conversations terse and to the point. But after a little smoothing on your part to nudge them in the right direction, Eder makes an effort to view Xoti with an open mind. And Xoti begins teasing the veteran fighter in a more companionable and less amorous manner. After saving each other's hides a couple times and sharing more than a few laughs, the two form an easy, and you suspect, lifelong friendship. Xoti's journey through the Deadfire on your ship is an eye-opening experience for the sheltered farm girl. After many souls harvested, more lives aided, and much adventure had, the priestess declares her intent to rejoin her fellow missionaries at the Temple of Gon in Neketaka. Following a shy grin and an overzealous handshake, Xoti leaves you with an open invitation to visit her anytime. It is some months later when she pens you a missive. Can you hardly believe it? Her chicken scratch handwriting reads. Sawin's sailing for distant lands. She's leaving me in charge of the temple. I've been named the High Priestess of Gon. If Aloth has learned one thing from your adventures, it is that the forces shaping the world are vaster and more complex than he had ever imagined. And they are far beyond anyone's power to control. Thus, it is with great relief that he sheds Theus's mantle. The leaden key will become what Kith need of it in time, assuming they have need of it at all. Serafen seems little impacted by your journey. Always knew the gods were larger than me, he tells you, on the evening he decides to part from your company. He's too long put aside those he cares most for. He confesses over a bottle of rum, and he's got leagues to sail to make it right. The following morning, he's gone, leaving only a crude stick figure rendering of Eothas, scrawled into the hull to mark his passage. Pleased with the Navy's conduct throughout the Deadfire campaign, Maia returns to active duty. She can find a free drink and a sharp salute anywhere she goes in Rawatayan territory. In recognition of her performance, the Navy attempts to give Maia less strenuous work. She flatly refuses, throwing herself into the fray whenever she can. Her rifle never has time to cool. She looks forward to seeing her brother again. So does Ashiza. Your pursuit of Eothas and your journey to Ukaizo signal the end of forces that have shaped the lives of Kith and the course of nations. The cycle of reincarnation has been broken. The storms of Andra's mortar have calmed. Yet each ending promises a new beginning. As the sun rises over Ukaizo, Kith turn their gaze eastward, wondering at what lies beyond, and at the world they will fashion for themselves. As the Watcher of Cadnua and the former Herald of Bareth, you return to your ship and begin the long journey home. You hope for calm weather.